What I'm going to do right now is call roll. I'm going to mark everybody who's.
Oh, got it. I thought we were taking the, okay, yes.
Then we're going to take the oath of office as a group.
Okay.
And then we'll start the meeting. But I need to mark everybody off because there's so many people on the screen. I don't want to mess this up.
Right.
Okay. Christina Johnson.
Present.
Dan Bazzuto. Dan Bazzuto.
Who is here?
Yeah, I thought I saw him earlier. Okay, I'll come back at the end just in case he accidentally bumped off. Elizabeth Monley.
Yes, here.
Ellie Matsumura.
Here.
Enrico Calendar.
Good evening, present.
Frank Matsky.
Here.
Frederick Ferrer.
Here.
Garrick Percival.
Here.
Jeremy Avila. Jeremy Avila. Okay, again, I'll come back at the end to anybody who I'm marking absent just to make sure. Jose Posadas.
Here.
Luis Barosio.
Here.
I'm really sorry if I'm butchering your names. Lundiep.
Present.
Linda Lazat.
Here.
Magnolia Siegel.
I'm here.
Thank you. Maria Fuentes.
Here.
Roshni Saxena.
Here.
Sammy Robledo.
Here.
Mary Segura.
Present.
T. Tran.
Present.
Veronica Amador.
Here.
Yang Zhao.
Here.
Going back to Dan Bazzuto. And Jeremy Bruce.
Here.
And I'm checking attendees just to make sure he didn't pop over there. Okay, so I only have one absent. So go ahead and raise your right hand. And if I can't hear you, as long as I see your mouth moving, that's okay. So if you want to mute, you can stay muted because it's going to be kind of crazy. But I will be looking at all of your pictures. So I state your name.
Magna. I, Maria Fuentes.
Only.
Do solemnly swear
Do
solemnly
Swear.
to support and defend
support and
Support
defend
and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the
and
Constitution of the State of
State of
California
California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against
all
all
enemies, foreign and domestic,
domestic.
and I will bear true faith and allegiance
and I will
And I will
bear
bear
true
true
faith and
faith and
allegiance
allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the
the
Constitution of the
Constitution
United
of the
States
United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the
the
Constitution of the
Constitution
State
of
of
the
California,
State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take
and that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental
reservation
reservations
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of
purpose of
evasion,
evasion,
and I will well and faithfully
and I will
and
well
will
and faithfully
faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge
discharge
the
the
duties
duties
upon which I'm about to enter.
on which
on
I'm
which I'm
about to
about
enter.
to enter.
Congratulations! Yay. Okay, so Mr. Chair, you have a quorum and everybody is sworn in and you can go ahead and begin the meeting.
Thank you so much, Tony. So we're all done now? We're done? That's all we're going to do?
That's all for the oath. Now you can call the meeting to order.
So I'm going to call this meeting, this first meeting of the San Jose Charter Commission to order. And we do not have orders of the day or consent calendar today since it's our first meeting. But we're going to have our first agenda item, which is on our agenda as reports and information. So tonight we're going to do a number of things to get started in our really critically important work. We're going to be starting with introductions of each other just so that we can continue to see faces and names and understand kind of who's in the room to be able to work together over the next few months. We're then going to have an overview of the Brown Act. So all of us who've been worked for public elected or public offices understand that we have to have rules of transparency. So our staff person, our city clerk, Tony Tabor, will be going over an overview review of the Brown Act. Then I'm going to introduce our consultant who will work with us on kind of looking at our expectations. What do we as commissioners expect to do in this set of work? And we want to hear from everyone around what your expectations are as we come to understand how do we want to work together to be the most effective as we prepare recommendations for City Council. We will then hear if there is anyone to make comments from the public. And then finally, we're going to talk about logistics around meetings, schedules, timings, the calendar, all those kinds of things, and we'll move from there. So I'm going to start with introductions. I'm Frederick Ferrer. I'm the CEO of the Child Advocates of Silicon Valley. I represent, I was appointed by the mayor, so I represent the full city and was asked by the mayor to chair this commission, which I just consider such a high honor and a real pleasure to work with all of you. I'm very excited to be able to do that. Tonight, what I'm going to ask you to do is introduce yourself with your name. If you have any, like my last name is Ferrer and everyone always mispronounces it. So if you have a name that folks mispronounce, please feel free to make sure that we're clear, and please correct us if we don't say your name correctly so that we can learn the proper pronunciation of everyone's name. The district that you're representing, and one hope at the end of this process, finish the statement that says, I hope that, fill in this statement. If everyone could spend less than a minute in your introduction, one of the things that I'm going to be doing and I'm going to ask our consultants to do is help us with the timing so that we work expeditiously. We move through things quickly. We want everyone to be heard. We want everyone to have kind of an equal say in any conversation they want. But we also don't want to spend all night doing things that we just don't need to spend a ton of time on. So tonight we're going to practice. Everyone introduce themselves by their name, their district, and fill in the statement. At the end of this process, I hope that, and do that in less than a minute, and we'll walk through. Tony, I think I'm going to ask you to call roll again, because I think it'll just be faster for us to do that, if you will.
Okay. Again, we'll start with Barbara Marshman.
Barbara Marshman. I live in Willow Glen, District 6, but like Fred, I was appointed by the mayor. And this is cheating. I didn't have any time to think of my hope. I hope at the end, all of us here can feel good about the ideas we recommend for how the city government might be reorganized and how the mayoral issues will resolve. That's
Thank
it.
you, Barbara. Tony?
Sorry, I'm getting spammed with Q&A. I forgot to disable the Q&A, and I'm getting spammed with a lot of inappropriate language, so I was deleting that. Christina Johnson's next.
Good evening, everyone. I live in District 2, and my one hope is that after all of this is done, that we make government more accessible and transparent for all of our residents.
Dan Bizzuto is still absent. Elizabeth Monley. Elizabeth Monley.
She's trying to unmute herself and she's there.
I'm muted. I'm sorry. Elizabeth Monley. I live in District 6. And I do hope that at the end of all of this, that we have come up with recommendations for the council and that they can produce to the public and come to a very good decision.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
Ellie Matsumura. Sorry.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Ellie Matsumura, that's pretty good on the last name. Like I already give up on it beforehand. She, her pronouns. I live in District 3. And I hope by the end of this, we can really have hashed it out and engaged the public to get to a point where we live up to the council direction to increase equity, representation, and inclusion. I think, that's some of the language in San Jose. There are many things I think that are clear in this moment in our country, and one of them is that the rules of how we make decisions as a democracy have tremendous implications for winners and losers and access and transparency and faith in government. And we get to do something about that here in San Jose. So I hope we live up to that opportunity.
Thanks, Ellie.
Enrico Calendar.
Good evening, everyone. Enrico Calendar, go by Rick. For those of you that know me, you can call me Enrico or Rick. I'll respond to both. I live in District 7, appointed by Maya Esparza, and I hope that whatever changes that we ultimately make to recommend to council make for a better, inclusive, and transparent city of San Jose.
Thanks, Rick.
Frank Majewski.
Yep, Frank Majewski. I'm in District 10, and I guess I hope that we are a positive influence on this issue and that we have complete and thorough information for the council to make a decision.
Excellent, Frank. Thank you.
Garrick Percival.
Hi, everyone. I'm Garrick Percival. I living in District 9. And I hope that, like many of you have already described, that we can build a set of recommendations that really improve San Jose and its ability to represent everyone in the community and make a sense that people can engage and feel like they're well represented in our city government. So that's my hope.
Thanks, Garrick.
Jeremy Avila. Sorry. Jeremy Avila. Jeremy?
There's two Jeremys, by the way. Jeremy
Right.
Avila is not on.
Okay, Jeremy Bruce.
Hi, everybody. Jeremy Barus, representing District 8. And my hope is that we can all do our part to create a more welcoming San Jose for our families and for...
Jose Posadas.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Jose Posadas, and that is Posadas with an S. Sometimes people say Posada and drop off the S, but it is Posadas. I represent District 3 in the downtown San Jose area, and I hope that I can live up to the expectations that the community has in this process and in me individually as a commissioner.
Thank you, Jose.
Luis Barocio.
Good evening. Thank you. My name is Luis Barocio. I know it has an O, but I pronounce it Luis Barocio. And I'm from District 5. And by the end of the process, I hope that together we can make San Jose a beacon and a model for the democratic process. And collectively, we recommend the best that we can for all the city council to consider. And ideally, we bring together all the voices in the city of San Jose.
Thank you, Luis.
Lun Diep.
Hi, I'm Lun Diep, L-A-N, but the name rhymes with fun. I live up in North San Jose, but I join Frederick and Barbara as one of the mayor's appointees. And I hope that as we go through this process, we'll be engaged and interested enough to share our thoughts with one or two of our friends or family members, and we'll start a domino effect where they there and tell other people about the work we're doing, and we kind of light a fire in terms of renewed civic interest in San Jose issue.
Thank you, Lynn.
Linda Lizotte.
Hi, I'm Linda Lizotte from District 9. And in addition to everything that everyone else has said, my hope is that we begin and end meetings on time.
Linda, I will have something to say about that towards the end of our meeting tonight, but yes, that's one of my pledges. So go ahead. Thank you, Tony.
Magnolia Siegel.
Hi, I'm Magnolia. I represent District 6, along with Elizabeth, who's here also. It is just like Barbara was saying, I really hope we feel good about the recommendations at the end of this, that we've really put in the time. I mean, we're all volunteers, that we've really put in the time and the research, both to educate ourselves and each other, and that we're very open-minded to each other's research and points of view. And so we can really come up with educated recommendations that we feel good about for the families and people of San Jose.
Thank you, Magnolia.
Maria Fuentes.
Hi, I'm Maria Fuentes, and along with Jeremy, I am from District 8. And well, I'm very excited about being part of the team with all of you, and I believe that we're going to come up with some great work together. And at the end of the process, and actually, I would like to think of it in terms of 10 years after we finish our work, everyone will have realized that our contribution, which takes the input of the community and of course goes to the city council, et cetera, but that our contributions really brought our city to more inclusion and advanced our great city even beyond what we have today. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria.
Roshni Saxena.
Hi, everyone. I'm Roshni Saxena. I represent District 4. My outcome is to hopefully engage the community more effectively, also have more edifying conversations, and just hopefully contribute to something greater than what we are right now and just continue to be great.
Thank you, Rashida. And next, Tony.
Sammy Robledo.
I go by Sam. I'm from District 1, and I hope that we have some good conversations and have a great outcome.
Thank you, Sam.
Sherry Segura.
Good evening. I represent District 2, and I hope that we're able to provide transparent, inclusive, and quality recommendations.
Excellent. Thank you, Sherry.
T. Tran.
Hi, everybody. My name is T. Tran. I reside in District 4, and I also happen to be one of the District 4 representatives here. I guess my hope is pretty much kind of in line with everybody else, is that when it all comes down to it, we have thoughtful dialogue that leaves everybody feeling as though all perspectives are heard, and that we can come together and provide a recommendation to the council that ends up being suitable.
Thank you, T.
Veronica Amador.
Great. Hi, everyone. My name is Veronica Amador. My pronouns are she, her. Representing District 5 with Mr. Barosio. And my hope is that equity, inclusion, and transparency is represented in our whatever we deliver to the council. Thank you.
Thank you, Veronica. And next.
The last one, except for the chair, is Yang Zhao.
Hi, everyone. I'm Yong Zhao. You can call me Jenny. That's easier. So I live in District 1, and I represent District 1. This is a learning process to myself, and I hope we can all be open-minded and respectfully hear each other, and after all, we can come to something we can be proud of.
Thank you, Young. And I'm Frederick Ferrer. I do reside in District 6, and as I said, I represent from the mayor's appointment the full city. And the mayor asked me to be the chair of the commission, which I'm really excited about doing. And I want to congratulate us on our first accomplishment, which is we did not take the full minute to be able to do our introduction, so we saved 12 minutes. So Linda, don't you fret, Linda. But I do, I say that with some humor, but I do want us to be efficient, right? I don't want us to be, we all are busy working. This is a late night meeting. I don't want us to be like, oh, You know, so I will work hard at keeping us moving and keeping us going and keeping on time. At this time, I'm going to ask Tony Tabor, the city clerk, to go over and review with us the Brown Act, which is the sunshine laws in the state of California that we will be operating under. And if you have questions or you have specific things that you have questions on, you certainly can ask Tony afterwards. But I'm going to ask her to do her overview, and it's going to take about 15 minutes for her to do the overview on the Brown Act. Tony?
Okay, so I will probably talk a little fast, partially because I've done this a lot, and we're gonna glide through some of these things, like frequently used terms, or commission secretary. That's the person that will be attending to take notes. Currently, that's me. I have hired somebody for your commission that will be starting at the end of this month. So you will be getting your own dedicated staff person. Just a couple things. Want to make sure you guys know a quorum is half plus one. We cannot meet unless we have at least 11 people. If you're not going to be able to attend a meeting, email me. What I don't want is, 9 people show up and we're waiting for half an hour because we didn't know a whole bunch of other people are watching some sporting event or something. Although that's not an excused absence. So anything you vote on requires an affirmative vote of the majority present. So when you're actually voting on things, we'll go over that more if we get close. So Brown Act, this is the most important part. All meetings must be open to the public. I will be having the Q&A and chat disabled for your next meeting because that Brown Act does not allow you to talk amongst each other, amongst yourselves during the meeting. That includes chatting. So the Brown Act was created in 1953. It applies to local government meetings to make sure they're open and public, and it applies to any legislative body. Because you were created by the city council, you're considered a legislative body. This applies to a majority of the members of the legislative body. So what is a meeting? A meeting is when a majority of the commissioners are present at the same time and place to hear, discuss, deliberate, or take action on something that is within the commission's subject matter jurisdiction. I want to emphasize this, that no action has to be taken in order for this to be considered a meeting. A hearing, discussion, or deliberation triggers Brown Act open meeting requirements. For example, tonight, we're not making any decisions, but it still needs to be a publicly noticed open meeting. This makes it also sound like anytime commission members get together, it will trigger a Brown Act requirement. So we're going to go through a few exceptions. And since you're all very active in the city of San Jose, some of these could apply to you.
Tony, I'm going to stop you just.
Yeah.
Can you? Okay. The Q&A wasn't disabled again. So, okay, great.
Yeah, I can't. It's not letting me disable it. So okay. I'm deleting them as they come in.
Perfect. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. And I have it where it's not only answered questions should be viewable, but I am deleting them as they pop up.
Perfect. Thank you.
The person who was spamming us, I've removed them from the meeting.
Okay.
What is not a meeting? A majority of commissioners can attend social or ceremonial occasions, conferences, and community forums, and meetings of other government bodies as long as they do not discuss business that would come before the commission. So yes, you can all attend council meetings and county board meetings, just don't hang out and talk about commission business while you're there. When you're at a social function, keep the topic of conversation away from commission business. Okay. Under the Brown Act, there are prohibited meetings. A majority of members cannot use a cell phone, telephone, fax, email, text message, human intermediaries, or other means to discuss, deliberate, or develop a consensus, agreement, or a decision on any item of business that is within the commission's subject matter jurisdiction. This discussion should occur in an agendized public meeting, and email is another tricky area, and we'll talk about that next. So serial meetings. Prohibited meetings include serial meetings. These are a series of meetings to discuss, deliberate, or take action, each of which involves less than a majority, but which taken together involve a majority of commissioners. For example, in a daisy chain, in a 5-member board, 3 is a majority. April talks to Bill, Bill texts Chris, his own position, and Alan's position. A Brown Act violation occurred because even though each communication involves less than a majority of the members, overall, it involves contact among a majority of the members. In this case, April didn't even know she was violating the Brown Act. So you can accidentally violate it, and it's no fault of your own. Another example is the hub and spoke. So April asks Bill and Daphne individually how they are going to vote. This is a Brown Act violation because April knows how Bill and Daphne are going to vote along with her own vote. An email reply all, just don't do it. It's too easy to accidentally have a Brown Act violation. Unlike murder, Brown Act violation does not require intent. There are certain briefings that are allowed. Staff may contact a commissioner to answer questions and provide information as long as the staff member does not communicate any comments, discussion, or position of any other commissioner. Pop quiz. Looking at this agenda, what does it allow the commission to do? If you're thinking you can only discuss the fiscal year 18-19 budget, you're correct. The commission cannot take action, even to just support the budget or receive and file it. To make it an expedited action, you have to add just and possible action, so the public will know that something beyond a discussion is happening. Ideally, we have a more specific recommendation as we do the city council agendas, but this is adequate for a lot of times that we're discussing things at the level. The commission should discuss items that are not on the posted agenda. The commission should also not take action if the item has not been agendized for action or possible action. Commissioners can comment on certain unagendized items as long as there is no discussion or action. Briefly responding to public comment, asking a question for clarification, referring item to staff or future meeting, report by commissioner on his or her activities, and brief announcements. When you have members of the public, you let them speak for their 2 minutes and then move on. There's no dialogue. Public comment is when you let the public comment on something that's within your subject matter jurisdiction. There's two different kinds of public comment. First, agendized items like approval of work plan. After hearing the staff's presentation, but before you take a vote, there's an opportunity for public comment. The second is for the public comment section of the agenda that's listed on the agenda as open forum. And so what can you do with them? You can refer the speaker to staff. You can refer the speaker to appropriate reference materials. You can request the staff to report back at a future meeting or direct the staff to place matter on a future agenda. This is not a time to debate the public speaker or engage in a question and answer period. This is a chart about the Brown Act. So that's state law versus the City Sunshine Resolution. Basically, the City Sunshine Resolution is stricter. So if you see on the Brown Act, we can post an agenda 3 days ahead, 72 hours ahead, but in the city, we do 7 days. So we're a little stricter to allow the public to have more time to review the materials. Now, I have some other slides I'm not going to cover today, but I'm going to click through them really quickly. I have slides on the Political Reform Act, the gift limits, the revolving door restrictions, and parliamentary procedures. All of these are available on the Brown Act or the boards and commissions training online. This whole presentation has been recorded. So after this meeting, I'll send a link to that boards and commissions training for you all to watch on your own time. It's not very long, and you could probably fast forward through some of it because I've just covered it. But I don't want to spend, we have 23 people, there's a lot for you to do. So I didn't want to go over all of the little minutia for the meeting when you can just watch that on your own time. And then now I'm available for questions. Any questions?
Questions for Tony?
I believe the Public Records Act applies to us as well. So I just wanted to confirm and find out what we should know about that.
Okay, yes, the Public Record Act does apply to everything we do in the city. So any emails that you send me are public records and people can request them. So that is something that, like, I'm used to it because I've been a public servant for many years. So I'm used to, I know if I type it in an email, it's going to be a public record. So just, be mindful that your communication, I should uncover my camera. Sorry. I'm used to being off camera. You should just be mindful when you communicate with each other and with me. You shouldn't be emailing each other, that it is a public record. All of the agenda items, the minutes, notes, comments that are submitted in writing, all of those are public record. All of these meetings are recorded. So that like you'll see the little recording icon next to my name. So all of these meetings are recorded and they are retained for 2 years.
Any other questions?
Are you going to go over Brown Act groups, or does that not apply with this?
We don't really do Brown Act groups and commissions,
All right.
but you should be aware if you've talked to 1 or 2 other people, you guys need to be aware that you could violate it. What we usually recommend boards and commission members do is don't talk to any of each other about things outside of the public forum. We don't tend to do the same thing, whereas council will get together and submit a memo. You don't see that in boards and commissions very often. However, if that's how you guys want to do things here, we can do another little lesson to make sure you guys don't cross the line. Because again, it's the daisy chain where you say you talk to Jeremy, and then Jeremy talks to T, and then T talks to Christina. You guys eventually can get to a point where, so Christina is now going to talk to Garrick, who's going to talk to Young. So it can get really messy, especially with 23 of you, because you think, oh, I'm well under the 11 because there's so many people. And the next thing you know, you've got this huge spider web. So it's just something you have to be really careful. We want everything to be open and transparent. There are cures. If you accidentally do it, don't hide it. Just come to me and say, I'm so sorry, I made a mistake. I accidentally sent an email out to a bunch of people. Just let me know. And the attorney's office and I can cure it. There's cures. It doesn't necessarily invalidate everything. There's steps we have to take to fix it, but don't try to hide it. I'd rather fix it early than later. Any other questions?
Magnolia.
If members of our district want to talk to us and give us their opinion, is that a violation of the Brown Act?
No, you can listen to them.
And what if they ask us questions?
You can talk to members of the public about what's going on here. Don't express your opinions, I would say. I think it's better to just keep it like, yes, here's the material. Here's the link to the website. This is what we talked about last week. But just be really careful that it doesn't look like you're deliberating with other people. Well, it can be tricky, but you guys, we're going to have a lot of public hearings for people to come in and give their opinion on all of the different topics that you're going to cover. Any other questions? Okay, Frederick, I'll hand it back over to you.
Oh, sorry, I didn't know if we were using the raise hand function. Just is there a standard vice chair role that's consistent across the commissions in terms of what the duties are of the vice chair, or is that something subject to deliberation by this commission?
So vice chair, you're going to appoint the next time at the next meeting. I didn't do it at this meeting just because I wanted to have everything over. The vice chair is essentially will run the meeting when the chair is not there. And that's defined in council policy, I think 04. But next meeting, I wanted you guys to be able to sort of meet each other, hear the introductions, and then you decide who you want to nominate to be vice chair at the next meeting. It's hard to nominate when you don't know anybody.
Okay, any other questions? We have 2 pages of folks, so I'm just going to go back and forth. So great. Okay, thank you, Tony. And now I want to introduce our consultant who's going to be working with us. My role is to chair the meeting, and Lawrence, I think he's on here, Kraveska is going to be the facilitator of a lot of our conversations. So my hope, I didn't get to take my turn, but my hope is that in the end of this process, even if you disagree with the recommendation, one recommendation or another, that you don't disagree with the process, that you think the process was a fair and equitable process, and the recommendations, while we may not agree with every one of them, we don't have a disagreement with the process being an inclusive one that was very thorough based on the research and the education that we find as a commission. But so Lawrence's role is going to be, as I facilitate the meetings, Lawrence will facilitate conversations and some of the discussions we're going to have. So I'm going to ask him to introduce himself and a little bit about Civic Makers, his organization, and then we're going to talk about our expectations that we have for how we want to work together as a commission. So Lawrence, I'm going to turn it over to you, and we're going to have about just a quick conversation between the two, understanding his role versus mine, and then he'll lead us in about a half-hour conversation around our expectations.
Great, thanks, Fred. It's a real honor to be here. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to sit with a bunch of residents who are tasked with understanding and thinking through how a city should govern itself. So really proud of you all for being part of this and excited to support you. Again, my name is Lawrence Kraveska. I'm one of the founders and a partner in a firm called Civic Makers. We do strategic planning, management consulting, and community engagement work for cities, municipalities, and public sector agencies around the Bay Area. I've worked in the public sector myself, both for Alameda County and the city of San Francisco. I love process, I love governance, and again, that's why I'm excited about this particular meeting. And my role, as Fred said, will be to hold an impartial space for all of you to have a fair conversation, transparent conversation, equitable conversation. We really want to echo Fred's commitment to making sure everyone feels heard and feels good about the process we follow. We may not agree on everything, but we all should agree that this commission followed a process that is transparent and defensible, and that the final report or reports that we deliver to the city council, that you deliver to the city council, are a product of a process over the next months that we all feel good about and get behind, even if we don't necessarily agree on the content of the final reports. So I will be stepping in moments like this to help have a conversation, so it's not on Fred's. Fred will have his own opinions. I don't have an opinion. I'm just here to support yours. So that being said, I also want to introduce my colleague, Marielle Ollentine, who is here somewhere. She's going to be taking notes. Tony's team is going to be taking action minutes, which are the more kind of technical legal notes that the city has to post for the public. And Marielle and I will be taking notes and following along on the conversation. Our intention is to take notes for each of these meetings and have a record of our conversation, so that when we get to the point where we're putting together a report, we have a record of what we talked about, what the general opinion was, and we can revisit those to support a majority and or minority reports that are informed by what we've talked about over the coming weeks and months. And the last thing I'll say is that we at Civic Makers, we have been doing a lot of our meetings online. I think we all have been, so we very much are committed to a good process, an engaging process, and a quick process. You'll be having a chance to weigh in on some of your preference on that in a minute. But for right now, wanted to do another go around and have everyone weigh in on what they think a good process could be. The prompt for this is to basically hear from you all and use that as an input to put together a charter agreement of sorts. And this is something that we would all agree to, that says this is how we're going to comport ourselves. This is how we are going to respect each other, treat each other, and basically align around a process and a focus, so that if we stray down the road, if other things come up, if things get a little untoward, we're able to pull it back and say, we all agreed to this right when we started out in this journey together. So would like to jump right in and give everyone 90 seconds this time instead of 60 seconds. We all did such a great job. I, like Linda, and I'm very proud of you all and thankful for you all for moving along. This prompt, again, is what expectations do you have for this commission to as far as the process? And Linda's share was a great example. My expectation is that these meetings end on time. My expectation in particular, and I'll model, is that I expect you all to be present, minimize distractions while you are engaged in this process, and as much as you can be on camera. I understand everyone has stuff going on behind them. I've got a wife and a young son somewhere behind that door. We all need to get up for bio breaks and all that kind of stuff, so you can toggle the video on and off. But I do hope that while you're here, you're able to be present, stay off your phone, stay off web browsing, and be engaged in the conversation conversation, because these conversations will be fairly detailed and kind of heady and philosophical potentially. So that's my outsider request, but modeling the prompt. So I'm just going to go down the list here of participants. Tony, I'll spell you, and I'll start with Maria. Maria, what's your expectation for how this process, you'd like this process to go?
Okay, so, well, it's pretty basic, but one is that everyone gets a turn to speak and that all of us listen intently to each other. And I think that we want to make sure that our community process is very accessible and is known to the community so they can easily engage with what we're doing. I'm also not necessarily always seeking that everyone agrees, but I'm always wanting to at least make sure we're inclusive of each other's opinion in some way, you know, a minority opinion or however, but I think I really value the diversity of ideas and bringing everything in together. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Maria. Frank, how about yourself? What's an expectation do you have for this process together?
Actually, I haven't thought too much about it. I'm thinking we may want to think about, you know, begin with the end in mind. Like, what is the final product that we're looking at, and, you know, what's it look like, and try to move our way towards that. You know, I've been involved in some of these things in the past, and it seems like a little bit of project management might help in this, in terms of, you know, what are the tasks, who needs to do what, and are we on schedule or not? So trying to keep this thing moving along kind of efficiently. I guess, what is our decision-making process? That's a question I have. Do we vote? Do we not vote? Or is it consensus? I do like the idea of majority, minority reports so that everybody's opinion is heard and given to the council. Beyond that, I'm still kind of learning.
Fantastic, thanks. And yeah, Fred and I will definitely be helping to steer this boat and make sure that we're on task and on topic. We are in the process of kind of elaborating on the resolution that City Council put out that engendered this commission. It's a little vague. There's a lot of potential ways we could go. So I imagine the next meeting we'll have a list of topics to review with all of you and make sure that we're all in the same boat as far as what exactly we're going to be talking about. But thank you, Frank. All right, Barbara. Barbara Marshman. Oh, you're on mute, Barbara.
Barbara, you need to.
Sorry, the dog was here and I forgot that I had done that. You know, I spent 30 years in the editorial board at the Mercury News, writing opinions about what other people did, and this is actually going to be my first participation in San Jose in any kind of a city process. It's usually, you know, it used to be popping in once in a while to see how things are going and then critiquing the end. And I really had no idea how this is going to work. With this number of people, the goals, the ideas being included seem to get, someone mentioned, more inclusive, more general. And I think I would like to know fairly soon if we could decide what we want to address and what our, it's not to say we can't change, but to just have a way to focus where we're going. I really hope this can be straightforward and everything on the table and nobody afraid to say anything, but also nobody attacking anyone else, or we're San Jose. We won't do that.
That's 90 seconds, Barbara.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Let's see. Next is Christina.
I know this is going to sound corny, but I just hope we approach conversations with open hearts and open minds. I just feel like more productive conversations happen that way. So that's what I would hope would happen here. And, you know, not for someone to just dominate the conversation. I've had a lot of meetings where one person dominates the conversation, others get intimidated to share. So that's what I'm hoping everyone's very mindful, you know, when they do share, that others might want to share as well. Thank you.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Elizabeth.
Unmute myself. I would say the most important thing is that every one of us be present at every, make the promise to yourself that you'll be present at every meeting. And those few that you would have to miss would be very, very few that way. And be prepared for discussion. And when I say that, I mean leaving personal political opinions outside of the conversation, so that your opinion on something is pure, the discussion remains pure on the agenda, and we don't take side trips, so that the agenda will be very well crafted, I'm sure, and sticking to that will be efficient.
Great. Thank you, Elizabeth. And there will also be undoubtedly research for you all to read ahead of time. So I think that for me is also part of being prepared. So appreciate that. Thank you. Ellie.
Thank you. So I think it might have been Barbara earlier who mentioned everything on the table. You know, I think this is a very serious business in terms of the impact of the future of San Jose. Maria referenced that in her introduction. And so to me, that means we look far and wide with very open minds, learn about practices in cities across the country, potentially across the globe, to really examine what it is going to take to achieve more accountability, representation, and inclusion in San Jose. Those actually aren't easy things to do. They're easy things to say and not do. And so to be very rigorous with ourselves to live up to that aspect of the council resolution, as well as to model it in our process, especially in how we engage with the public, and make sure that we do everything as commissioners, as well as, you know, requesting of the staff to make meetings not just accessible, but actively reaching out to members of the public to engage and seeing, especially in these challenging times of COVID, what we can do to center the voices of the folks who perhaps haven't had representation, and that's what we're seeking to remedy.
Great, thank you. Let's see, Fred.
I guess what I would say is clarity. Like, I expect that we have a clear agenda, we have a clear task in front of us, and we have a clear picture where we're going, kind of like with the end in mind. I like that, but it's like real clarity about the process. So if we've got a good map to get us from here to recommendations, that includes the community, that includes public input, then I think that when we take each part, we all then have a good sense of where we're going, as opposed to, why are we talking about this? Like, that always bugs me in meetings. So having a good sense of clarity of what the map looks like, so I know where I am and why I need to do this part in order to get to the rest. So that's my hope, is that we have really a lot of good clarity in all our work.
Fantastic. I'm glad you're the chair. That sounds like a good thing for the chair to be concerned about. Garrick.
Yes, thank you. I don't think I have too much to add. I think a lot of it's been said already. I agree with. I would just say that I'll be really interested to learn other people's experiences and perspectives, because I think one of the things that's great about, you know, a commission of this size is we all come with different set of experiences and level, you know, expertise, and so I really hope to learn from everybody else. I mean, I that's one of the, I think, things that I come to this is I have a lot to learn, and so I look forward to that. Aside from that, I think having a sense, as others have said, that you know, sort of a clear set of goals, but also I think a sort of recognition that there really is no sort of perfect system of government. They all come with different sort of benefits and costs. So I think just kind of keeping an open mind to that at the end of this process, we're probably going to be left with the questions we still have and maybe some things that we wish could be better, but maybe can't be for a variety of reasons. So thank you.
Great, thank you. Jeremy.
Yeah, I just want to echo what was said around, make sure that we're including as many community voices and, elevating and centering those community voices for input on this process. And then, asking, really good questions to get us to a good place where we're all feeling good and getting good materials and information from staff and, doing a little bit of our own, looking at asking questions and looking into what models are being done around the country as well.
Great, thank you. Jose.
With respect to the process, I would say being inclusive, as everybody else has already mentioned, being respectful with each other as well as the members of the public, especially once we begin to do the public outreach. Having a really robust public outreach efforts and paying special consideration to groups that probably normally we don't have much success engaging with, like language communities, immigrant groups, youth groups, and especially those who don't even have access to internet. That's a big group that doesn't even know that we're meeting tonight. And so there's got to be a way for us to reach out to them and get their feedback.
Thank you, Jose. Lun, you're next.
Yeah, thanks. So in regards to process, just that we're all on the same page on what the process is, whether that's Robert's rules or just casual dinner table conversation, or somebody gets a stick to speak for 5 minutes and we pass it around. Whatever that is, it doesn't have to be Robert's rules, but we're all we know the ground rules rather. And also, it's not clear to me how long this commission is assembled for, whether it's like 6 meetings or 12 meetings or twice a month or what that is. But having a set of the schedule so we can plan our lives around that. There was somebody mentioned earlier that the council will probably give us more instructions about what to discuss. I won't color that. I think there were 3 distinct things from memory to discuss, but there might be more. But I think just with the recognition that our reports, the majority report and the minority report, will be a starting point for council discussion, and ultimately the 11 of them on the council to decide what amendments to move forward with to put before voters. And knowing that we're really creating a report to spark a discussion. If we have the time, I wouldn't even limit ourselves to the things the council wants us to talk about. If we have the time, that is, look at the full charter, read the whole thing, and if there are things that we feel that maybe it's time to update this from the 1960s, we can insert that too, because it's really just a recommendation and a point of discussion. So there, I'll stop there.
Great, thank you. Linda. You're on mute, Linda.
Right.
There you go.
So I think my main thing is that we first answer the questions or look at the areas that the council wants us to. Some of you may know that I was on the city council for 8 years, and the charter was the document that guided us in what we did. But I know that it's an organic document that needs to be changed as times change. And so, first we should get through, as Lon said, get through the items that the council has already recognized need to be made, perhaps changed. And then if there's time to look at, there's other things that we can make recommendations about. But it's going to, I think we need to be honest that it's going to be, even with our hard work, it's going to be recommendations to the council. And so we can't have people with their own agenda trying to put something forward that isn't going to go anywhere. It'll just be a waste of time and all of our time. So I think that's the preliminary issue. And then secondarily, I think we need to get to consensus. I don't think it needs to be, 100% everybody agrees. We could have a majority and minority report, but I think whenever we're going to vote on something, I think we should strive towards a consensus. because then that looks good with regard to how thoughtful we all are and are going to be. And I think that's important. Also,
Great.
everyone
Thank you,
read.
Linda. That was 90 seconds, so
Thank
quick.
you.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Luis.
Thank you. So I agree with what most people have said, almost actually everyone. I would like to add the line of clarity that we do understand the task, right? I think there were a couple of bullet points at the beginning in terms of district cycles, a couple of charter amendments, but it would really be good to kind of put that in a very succinct way, right, for us and the public. I would also say, since there's 23 of us, and probably at times we're all gonna click raise hand, it would be good to see something on the screen that kind of shows who's next, so we can kind of prepare for that. Sort of that, you know, share screen mode with a little document on the side, so we can kind of keep track of that. And because we do have a lot of items to talk about, even though they may be few at first, like they may branch out into different type of charters or different type of thinking, that just clarity in terms of how we're going to organize them with our time together and how we're going to weave in and out, right? We don't want to agree to something. Well, I don't know, maybe we do, right? But we just need clarity on how we're going to move forward and how we're going to take steps back if we need to. So that's what I offer.
Great, thank you, Luis. Magnolia.
Hi. I would really like it if between the commissioners we could break up the research and present our piece to the group, as well as a list of where we got our research from, so that each commissioner can visit the research we did in addition to conducting their own research, which is in addition to the recommended readings that we're getting from the city. I think it's pretty overwhelming for each person to have to actually do everything. Like, it's just enormous. So if we could kind of have a game plan on breaking that up, but of course we're not just going to accept someone else's research, we would do our own, but it would be nice to sort of each be responsible for presenting a piece of it. And I think that would help keep us engaged as well with the research. I would also really love to see a comment board or a blog for information that members of the public want to share with us. San Jose has, you know, over 1 million people. We have some really, really bright people. We have professors. We have amazing people who may want to give us valuable information. Citizens who've gone through things that want to share their life experience. And I would want to have access to their stories and to what they want to tell me. So if there could be perhaps a blog with each question that we're charged with making recommendations on, that we could visit that blog and see, that would be helpful.
Thank you, Magnolia. Rick.
Right. Yeah. So what I'm looking at, for one, I agree with everything I've heard in front of me. I don't want to be repetitive, but I think being able to clearly identify some outcomes, topic areas that we're going to be focused on, so we know exactly what we're working towards and what we're working on. I think that would be very helpful. I want to make sure that the meetings are accessible, and it's very accessible for the most part by Zoom, but as has been pointed out, it's not accessible equally to everyone. Make sure we're open and accepting to folks' comments. And I think one of the things that I heard is, and I'm not but what I'd like to see is basically a project plan, so we know exactly what we're working on, the timeline that we're working on it, and how much time we're going to spend. Otherwise, we could be spiraling into something that I have no idea what it is. So that project plan would help to identify when the meetings are going to occur and know what we're working towards and the outcomes for each meeting. That's it.
Great, thank you. Roshni.
Yes, thank you. So I just want to really echo what Rick just said, is having a clear outline of what we're going to be discussing. But I also want to go back to what I think Christina and Lund said, which is making sure that conversation doesn't really get monopolized, and just having an equitable decision-making process, and just being really respectful of community members, but also the public as well. and trying to engage parts of the community that wouldn't necessarily be a part of public meetings, especially through Zoom. It's very easy, but we do have those that have a digital divide and they don't access meetings regularly.
Great, thank you. Let's see, Sam.
Yes, again, what everybody said is what I've been thinking, but also allow everyone to speak and be engaged in the conversations. If we have a hard endpoint at each meeting, that'd be great. And if we can meet our deadlines, that's concerns I have. So.
Great, thank you. Sherry.
So for me, everybody, has made great suggestions. Mine's pretty much the same. It's a transparent, fair, inclusive process where all perspectives are respected and appreciated, and really just a clear plan for the process, for the recommendations that we will be making.
Great, thank you. T.
Trying not to sound like I'm preaching to the choir. I think there's really two things from my end. The first one is my hope is we can be methodical within these deliberations, but secondly, also be patient at the same time. I think this is an enormous task that we're all been asked to do, and I think the last thing we would all intend on doing is to rush something through and say, here you go, council. This is what we came up with in like a short time span. Like if we need more time to figure it out, I think we should have that flexibility, and we shouldn't feel nervous to say, hey, we need more time.
Great, thank you. Veronica.
Right. I think for me, again, centering community voice and amplifying that, and as well as being mindful of how long I take up the airspace, something that has been said already, and listening to understand and not assuming from others. Thank you.
Thank you. And Young.
I agree with everyone, and for me, the expectation, at least to myself, is I'm gonna do a lot of listening and learning, listen to everyone here and also to the public, and with keep in mind that a lot of us come from a different background and different perspective, so I'll try my best to keep an open mind.
Great.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I think that's everyone. Did I miss anyone? All right, just scanning through here. I think we got everyone. That was wonderful. Really great to hear so much alignment and overlap, and that'll be very helpful in informing how Fred and I support you all in this conversation. So. Great, Fred, do you want to take it back?
Thank you. Again, thanks to our fellow commissioners. Great feedback, really helpful, and I think we have a lot of those things already kind of in plan. And so, at our next meeting, we'll walk you through the schedule of the plan, all the kind of the other pieces to it. To just tonight, just getting things started, but definitely we'll be able to keep your thoughts in mind so that we can kind of demonstrate what we need to get back to you. At this time, I'm going to ask Tony to help us with, is there any member of the public that wishes to address the commission on an item that's not on the agenda? Tony, do we have?
Yeah, I have at least one hand up. Alina?
Hi, everybody. My name is Elena Yin, and I'm a resident from District 6. I was born and raised in District 4, and I'm really pleased to hear that the majority of you care so much about transparency and community engagement to have prioritized it as a hope. On that note, I would like to bring up the importance of broadly advertising when these meetings are actually taking place. And I'm not here to point fingers at anyone because I know that this has just always been the way it's been done, but I think everyone can agree here that that needs change. Now, I subscribe to every single council member's newsletter, and not a single one mentioned this meeting. It's also not listed on any city social media, nor is it listed on the city calendar website under upcoming meetings. Had I not had the fortunate chance to speak to Tony herself, I would have missed this meeting entirely. And while I also understand that the website is having technical difficulties, that is just one of the many things that could have and should have been done. And I also understand that it's a Brown Act violation to have a dialogue with the public during this meeting, but that's a little disheartening that it hasn't really been addressed to the public. How are we supposed to actually engage with this process then, and with this commission and with the commissioners? Diop, I really do thank you for bringing up the entire city charter. I agree with you wholeheartedly that we should be looking at what is outdated and holding us back from a truly better form of government. And as a member of the public and a lifelong San Jose resident, I really believe that this commission can become a new example of doing things better. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your comments. Is there anyone else in the public, Tony?
Yes. Jake Tonkel.
Hey everyone, I would just like to echo Alina's comments. The reason that I found out that you guys were meeting tonight was her proactive outreach to me, asking me to tell my network of people that this was going on. I know it's the first meeting, but I think as you guys go through and look at what we need to do to be a more inclusive and better representative city and to move more efficiently and more effective through our government system, that community outreach and community input really take center stage, whether it's finding different meetings to evaluate how the outreach has worked from one to the next, so that you can then make additional recommendations to city council and so on. I think that's going to be really important for developing the framework in which any new government system is going to be implemented, particularly now that we've switched to this more Zoom online based form of governance as well. So I would appreciate taking that into consideration too. Thank you.
Thank you. And Tony, you have, Luis is trying to get back onto the panel. He lost his signal.
Got him.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the public?
No.
Thank you. That ends the public comment for this particular meeting, and we'll go back to our staff and to respond to some of the thoughts that have come from the public. This next section I'd like to talk through is the meeting schedule and agenda items. Really want to be able to set the next meeting date and schedule future meetings. I'm going to turn it over to Lawrence to be able to facilitate this. We were going to do polling, but by Brown Act requirements, we can't. So we're going to try some hand raising the old fashioned way. So Lawrence, you want to take it over in terms of kind of getting us through some of the options around our next meetings, our meeting schedule?
Sure, happy to do it. We'll be using the raise hand feature. I'm going to talk through some options. We'll cite an option and then ask you to raise your hand. So first of all, I just want to make sure everyone sees and can use the raised hand feature. We'd love for you all just to raise your hand. I'm going to do it right now. It should be in the bottom of your screen, a little icon that you can click and you can raise your hand.
I do not see it on my icons.
Okay, it should be in the bottom of the main window, not there's a second window, which is kind of like the featured speaker or screen share. But let's see. I think
this is Tony. It's possible if your screen's like too maximized, you might need to exit full screen view to see it.
I still do not. I say participants, Q&A, share screen, and record.
Yeah, if you go into participants, down at the lower right hand, it says lower hand or raise hand.
Yeah, are you also seeing what I'm seeing is a row, it's on the same row as the mute and the stop video button. Do you see your mute button, Fred?
Yes.
In the middle of the screen, on the bottom, do you see anything?
I see participants, Q&A, share screen, and record.
You
Okay,
don't see
if you have an older, like out,
I see.
you might
Okay.
have another one. If you mouse over your name over on the participant, you should have an option that will pop up that says raise hand.
Sorry, I only have mute.
All right, we're doing this old school. We're just going to raise our hands, so everyone can lower their hands. That's fine. We can make this work. So first, we're going to talk about when do we want to meet. Tony has identified Mondays as the best time for her, and Fred and I have also discussed it with her, and strong preferences for Mondays. We do have Thursday as another option, so I think I'd like to phrase this question is there anyone that doing it on Mondays on a regular basis, whether that's weekly, every other week, or monthly, would be prohibitive? So if Mondays is prohibitive for you, can you raise your hand? Monday evenings. All right, I don't see anyone raising their hands. That's a great way to start here. Actually, I'm still raising my hand. I'm going to lower my hand. Great. Okay, so let's move on to the time. We started this meeting at 6 o'clock. We are thinking of doing, basically aiming for 3-hour maximum meeting, designing meetings somewhere between 2 to 3 hours, depending on the topic. So we actually will probably finish up before 2 hours tonight, but what we can expect is that meetings will probably be at least 2 hours, and we're trying to commit to getting you out by 3 at the latest, depending on the topic that's being discussed and how we break up the topics over the course of the series of commission meetings. So with that in mind, we're hoping to start meetings as early as possible, but also recognizing that for public engagement, we don't want to do this in the middle of the workday. So we are proposing start times of 4:30, 5, 5:30, and 6. So 4:30 meeting, we would be done at 7:30 at the latest. If we start at 6, we would be done at 9 at the latest. So I'd like for you all to think about those 4 times again, and then raise your hand when I say each time. So just going to repeat the list one more time: 4:30, 5, 5:30, and 6. So does that make sense? Great. So let's have a show of hands for folks that would prefer to start at 4:30. We have 1, 2, 3. That's 2. Okay, great. Show of hands, and Marielle, if you could just capture those the votes, I appreciate that. Show of hands for those who want to start at 5. Okay, we've got 1, 2, 3. All right. Show of hands for those who start at 5:30. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, and 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. All right, great. So looks like the general preference is 6 o'clock. Fred, any comments on that as the chair?
No, that sounds fine. The only thing I'll do is if we start getting a lot of public comment, one of the ideas that I had was if we do public comment at the beginning, and that's why we start at 5:30, as opposed to starting at 6, and we don't start deliberation or listening to our part of the meeting for a good half hour. It's just a chance. It's just the chance that get a lot of good public input. We don't want to. It's just, you have to always think about that could be a part of our meeting, which could make our meetings longer. So 6 o'clock works for me, and we'll start there. But that's the only thing. If that does become an issue, we may want to look at this again and say, we're spending a good half hour, 45 minutes listening to the public just on our agenda, not the public hearings. And so that may be a way that we wanted to look at trying to start earlier in order to accommodate public input. But we'll wait until we actually get some experience, and then we'll see how things go. So 6 o'clock Mondays works, and that's great.
Okay. Thank you, Fred. Barbara, I see you have a hand up. We haven't really talked through how we're going to. Okay, yeah, no problem. And we haven't really. There is sort of a technical question that Fred and I talked to Tony about as far, and this has been brought up for some of you that the sort of rules for speaking. And I think Fred and I need to spend a little time putting together a proposal for that. So I think for right now, what I'd like to do is if you have a clarifying question about scheduling that we're doing right now, I'll call on you and use your raised hand for that. Magnolia, do you have a clarifying question about the scheduling right now?
Yes. So
Yeah.
between now and the next meeting, if members of the public, like Alina or Jake, want to give us information, how would they give the commission that? How would they give us comments or their input?
Let's track these questions and get through the scheduling first, and then we can answer them. I want to make sure we stay on topic for the scheduling here. Ellie, do you have a clarifying question about scheduling?
I do. We have, I think, 2 people missing, perhaps people for whom Mondays at 6 p.m. are a prohibitively bad time. I don't know. So I wonder if we have a process for getting that information, since we just talked about the importance of inclusion. And I hope this is going to work for everybody, because it seems like there's a lot of support for that timing, but just to find out if we would have a consistent problem with 2 members of the commission.
Sure.
This is Tony. I know one of them emailed me to say he was ill tonight. I'm not sure why the other one's absent, but I was on this meeting. He may have emailed me. So I don't, one is not here because of scheduling issues, but I'll definitely be checking with them.
Great. Thank you, Tony. And Magnolia, your hand is raised again. More question on the scheduling? No. Okay, good.
No, sorry.
No problem. Just want to make sure that everyone's heard if they have something to say. Okay, so as mentioned, we were thinking about 3-hour cap on these meetings with a focus on agenda design between 2 and 3 hours, depending on topic. Is 3 hours prohibitive for anybody if we start at 6 o'clock? Raise your hand if 6 to 9 as a general maximum time frame is prohibitive for anyone. Fantastic. And then next question is frequency, how often we have these meetings. Talking with Tony and Fred, our proposal to bring to you all was to do this on a bi-weekly basis, basically every other week. Every week felt like a bit much. Every month didn't feel like quite enough. We can always change this, but I think giving us a bi-weekly rhythm gets us into the conversation pretty quickly. So all in favor of every other week, please raise your hand. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Okay, great. I think that's pretty strong consensus. Is there anyone that that would be prohibitive doing every other week? I think what I want to do here is make sure that we're not preventing. Some of you may have a preference to do it more often, but I want to make sure we're not doing it too often to make it difficult for people to attend. Sherry, yes. You're muted.
Yeah. In my case, the every other Monday isn't an issue, except that I have a class at USC on this exact night that ends at 6:30. I didn't want to cause disruption, so I could leave half an hour. But if it's consistently, mine's every other week on this week. So the next time we meet, I'll have to leave early. And the next time we meet, we'll have to leave early. So it's the bi-weekly being on the same, but it's half an hour. So I could, I don't know what the, rules for being half an hour late sometimes. Sometimes I can't get out of that class.
Sure. What's the nights, which weeks are yours, first and third?
Yes.
Okay. We can take a look at that as we put the schedule together.
Okay. Fred, I think those were the scheduling questions we had. Where we landed generally as far as the pretty strong consensus here is we would do Mondays, 6 o'clock every other week with agenda design between 2 to 3 hours max for cap. So I feel pretty good about that. Any other questions you want to bring to the group, Fred?
So no, that's really helpful. I think the other piece is that there are commissions that don't have an end time. And I would recommend that we have an end time and that we can then hit it. And I'll do my best to get us there. Otherwise, I think that just gives permission for like way too long. And so we'll think about it, that in the design will have a beginning and an end and a pretty tight annotated agenda. The other piece is that what we don't have clarity on is when are we going to deliver product. So there's
Fred, can you just hold on one second? Lon has his hand up, and I want to, before we move on to another topic, I want to make sure that.
Yeah, it was kind of that. I mean, the bi-weekly works for me, right? But it kind of dovetailed with what the chair was speaking about. Like,
Okay.
Do we have an end date that the council needs to vote on something? So are we time limited? And if we know the 3 topics or the 5 or however many topics we're supposed to be debating or exploring, that might mean we need to meet less or meet more.
Correct. That's exactly what I was going to say. So now that we know that we're meeting bi-weekly, we can now set up a plan proposal for you that says, and we believe that we can get to council by this date because we have this much material. We have to hold this number of public hearings. Like we have a plan that we can propose to you that the commission can then alter, change, or adopt so that we all have a good working plan of what's the end date. If we are meeting weekly for 1 hour, if we're meeting monthly for 1 hour, it changes how fast you can get things done. So now that we know your parameter, we can come back with a proposal for you around what the schedule overall looks like and how we would lay out kind of the methodology for our deliberations. So that's really helpful to us. So thank you for that. Now, the last question that we had was just a time limit for commissioners. Council members have a 15-minute maximum time to talk on any topic. There's 23 of us, there's not 11. So I'm hoping that we can facilitate most of our conversations in some kind of a time frame. And I would hope that we don't have these super long soliloquy or monologues so that we keep the dialogue going. So my preference is going to be with moving the agenda, having timing on all of our conversations and extending those for bigger conversations of substantive issues. So we may not be able to get your points across in 90 seconds, but let's keep looking at what is a parameter for what everyone can do. And also one of the expectations that didn't come up, which is to not repeat things. So if you concur, you don't have to restate it. You can just say, I concur with everything that happens, and we keep moving on. So that's also just kind of a working thing that we can use. And if you have something to say or you have a nuance, you of course would feel free to be able to share that. Okay. And then Tony will follow up with the 2 commissioners that are missing tonight to double check on that outreach piece. On their attendance piece. Is there any other questions that came up? Daisy, did you get your question answered? I'm sorry, Magnolia, did you get your question answered? Do you want to state it again? I didn't write it down.
Yes. Members of the public who.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. So how does Jake and Ellie get their data? Any data can go to Tony Tabor. All data should go, any communication to the commission should go to Tony, and Tony will distribute it to the full commission. It's better if you just send the public directly to Tony rather than you get it and then you send it. Just from a Brown Act perspective, I think it's cleaner and easier. So any member of the public that wishes to address the commission, they should send it officially to Tony Tabor as our city clerk, and then eventually to our own staff person, so that then she can distribute it to all of us and we can put it into your agenda packet of information as it comes to us. I'm hoping that lots of folks are going to be engaging with us. So just in terms of organizationally, it'll be more efficient if we have it as attachments to our agenda so that everybody has it, everyone has access to read it. And then if we have questions about things or we want to address them, then we can do that in our agenda items. Does that help, Magnolia?
Yes, I'm just sure that a lot of people, they have a lot that they want to say, and we all want to hear it. So it'd be great if they could give us whatever knowledge they have, and we could read it. Thank you.
And I think that I've heard a lot around the inclusive nature of our meetings and the input to us. So if you have other suggestions, ideas, or thoughts around how do different communities communicate with us, we certainly want to talk about that and be able to incorporate those practices into our model. That is not something that we will take lightly at all. We've got to really figure out how best to do that, to model those behaviors for what we want an inclusive process to look like. And I'll be working with Tony around our notification and our outreach, our public noticing and all that. I can work with Tony around that to make sure that we do get good public noticing for our meetings. Okay, any other item on our schedule? Any questions on schedule?
This is Tony. Just a reminder, we will need to do open forum for members of the public before you adjourn.
Correct. Any other thoughts, comments, questions from commissioners?
Yeah, Ellie, why don't you go ahead?
Thanks. It looks like we have, I assume, a couple other staff members joining us as well. And so just first and foremost, thank you for your work on this and your support. And second, if there's an opportunity to know a little bit more about who you are in your role, that would be wonderful. But please shut it down if that's out of order.
Tony, I'll let you decide what you'd like to share about staff supporting this project.
Like about me or about me?
The other staff that are supporting this commission.
So you've already introduced Mariel. So I changed my background to the timer already. So you'll have the timer running behind my head. So you have a staff person I just hired. She's an experienced deputy city clerk. She was previously at the city of Fremont. Her name's Megan. She starts on January 25th. So she'll be your dedicated staff person. We'll be updating the website. All of the reading material that was on this agenda is going to go onto the Charter Review website. We're going to pull old Charter Review stuff and put it on the website. She'll be in charge of that as well. So I'm very excited that that you'll be having your own staff person. Now she'll be split between you and redistricting. So, but she's not started yet, but she's experienced. So yay.
And Tony, just for clarity, we have another public comment session at this point?
Yes, so at the end of every meeting you have open forum. And this is for people to talk about anything that's not currently on the agenda.
Okay, and do we have anyone from the public to be able to do that?
I have no hands raised.
Okay. Hearing none, then we can, I'll accept a motion for adjournment. Anyone want to make a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second.
Second.
Thank you, Frank. All those in favor, any discussion? Anybody want to talk about it? Okay, all those in favor, raise your hand. Any opposed and abstentions? And that carries. So we are adjourned. Thank you all for being here tonight.